Hello and welcome to Denton's Den with me, Matt Denton. I've spent over 3 decades working in the UK film and television industry, primarily within creature effects, specialising in animatronic control systems. I've been lucky enough to work with some incredible creature effects teams on projects like Harry Potter, Jurassic World, and many creatures and droids in the Star Wars universe, including BB-8. My career has taken me all around the world, and during that time I've met some incredibly interesting people, both inside and outside of my industry. And in this series I hope to sit some of them down for a cup of tea and a chat so that you get to meet them too. My guest in this episode is senior model maker, droid builder and operator Lee Towersey. Lee has been in the industry for over 10 years and is probably best known for his work on Star Wars, in particular R2-D2.
Cup of tea, yep. Just make sure I have a nice side showing. There we go. Bring this in here.
Yeah, get comfy.
Thank you, Matt.
Welcome to whatever this is, and
Thank
I don't
you,
know
Matt.
what it is.
Thank you. Well, I think we're about to find out, aren't we?
We are going to find out. Lee Towersey, thanks for joining me.
Denton.
Thanks for joining me on my sofas in the barn.
Yep.
Just so everyone knows, it is freezing in here right now. I think it was about 6 degrees when I looked. And we are in the barns.
Yeah.
This is something new I'm trying. I don't really know what to call it yet. A yarn in the barn. The black barn
bad.
yarns.
Not bad. Yeah, we are in a barn, aren't we?
We are in a
So,
barn.
yeah.
Anyway, the whole point of this is I've been working in the film industry for 30 years. I've been working with you for over a decade. And I've met lots of interesting people, and I just wanted to...
You thought you'd have me here
I
instead
thought I'd have you.
today.
Yeah. So I just wanted to sit down and chat to some friends, really, and particularly it's going to be mostly creature effects people, I suppose, to start with,
Yeah.
because that's mostly who I know. And you're my first victim.
Yeah.
So thanks
The
for...
guinea pig.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no problem, Matt.
And doing this, yeah.
No problem.
So I'm going to talk about how we met, obviously, and that's going to have to involve work because we met at work. And you basically got started, and everyone's heard this story, so we won't elaborate on it. But you got into creature effects world because of a conversation with Kathleen Kennedy, with yourself and Oliver Staples.
It was Oliver. It was Oliver Staples that had the conversation, actually.
Yeah,
But
okay.
Yep. Fortunately, he got me in.
Yes, and
So, yeah.
he got you in to Neil Scanlon's creature effects department, which I was already there working on stuff, and that was to work on R2-D2.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah. For those that don't know, it's quite weird. Obviously, for us as a creature effects team, we were told like we've got these 2 R2-D2 builders coming in, and we were probably a little bit snobby about it.
I'm
I'd
sure.
imagine.
I'm sure.
But it's obviously Oliver didn't stay with us. He just decided to leave after a year. But Lee became an integral part of creature effects department. You've been doing droids and model making.
Indeed.
Tell us what you have been doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, so when I started at Pinewood, yes, I did feel a bit of a traitor, if you like. I don't know, really, because, we were outside, and I did actually wonder at the time, I wonder what they think about these 2 new guys that have never worked in the industry before suddenly having such a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And thankfully, everybody there was very welcoming. They certainly didn't show their scepticism, and they styled out really well, and I feel it worked quite well.
Yep.
Oliver chose to leave, like you say. I've stayed put, and I decided to exclusively work for Neil Scanlon.
Yeah.
Because he was only my second ever boss in my whole employment life.
Really?
Yeah. So I've only ever had 2 bosses in my life.
Wow.
So because my previous job was 23 years.
Well, technically you've had 3 because you got Helen. Your wife.
True. Yeah, true.
Sorry,
but she's far from a job.
Yeah, right.
She takes care more of me than I do of her, I assure you of that. So Neil being my second, and I saw as the first Star Wars, The Force Awakens came to an end, everybody starting to look for other work and wonder where they were going to go next. And like, guys, this isn't for me. I can't imagine having to establish myself with someone new every time. So I decided to exclusively work for Neil, and thankfully he keeps asking me back. So for the last 12, 13 years, I've been working on Star Wars or whatever other productions Neil has taken on, with gaps in between. I'm just coming to the end of a 5-month gap now of being out of work. Work comes and goes, and I'm just sitting here waiting for hopefully the next call from Neil. Yeah. So I've been working in model making all this time. Model making has grown in size. And I've been busy building droids ever since. Yeah, since R2-D2.
When they at the end of Force Awakens, did you think, oh, that's it? That was just the one-off.
Yeah.
That was it. I was lucky to do that one, and there's no way I'll be coming back. Or
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously there was probably chat because I'm sure Neil said, "Oh, we'd love to have you back." But did you ever think, "Oh, actually, that's probably it. I should just count my lucky." That's
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, because I was so grateful for the opportunity, and you really can't make any assumptions in life, not just the film industry, but I never assume anything's going to happen. And I think if you do assume too much, it breeds disappointment, you know?
Yeah.
So let's try and avoid the disappointment. Let's not expect too much. But a lot of the crew and Steve Wright, God bless him, he always used to say, this could be another Harry Potter. This could be a 10-year stint. Because they were talking about the trilogy. We knew this was probably going to be the trilogy. Yeah. So you just hoped you came back. You didn't know that Neil was necessarily going to get the job again. It could have gone somewhere else. It could have been shot in America. But the rumours were there was potentially more work.
Yes.
So I lived in the hope. And of course, I got the assurance from Neil at the time that he would call me. But I was still very quickly realised that that's not a guarantee.
Yeah. And you've are you saying like you worked in the model department and droids, but you've sort of moved away from that now as well, haven't you? Shifted out of the model department a bit. Would I be right in saying that?
No.
Okay. I thought you were doing more officey stuff.
No.
Okay.
That never really happened.
Oh, did it not?
No,
okay.
that never
See,
really
I'm learning
happened,
things.
Unfortunately,
I'm learning things.
Yeah,
I've been out of the loop a bit.
That never really happened. I did get a call from Neil with an offer of an opportunity for more responsibility, but just the workload wasn't there.
So you're going back to models?
So I'm back in models.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is fine. So I'm more than happy to take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
But equally, I love model making. I love being on set.
Yes.
I think as much as
you
do.
I do. Yes,
and I've always said I don't think I would do the job if I wasn't on set as well. It's more important to me that I'm on set than anything else.
Yes.
And also, fortunately, it keeps us busy because a lot of people finish the build and maybe just go on to another job, but we carry on and then go onto set and extend your employment time, which is quite nice. And the thing you make, you get to operate as well. Yep. So you know, hopefully, if anything goes wrong, you know how to fix it quite quickly. So it continues to be doing that. And as long as I enjoy it, I will continue being there as long as Neil keeps asking me back.
You mentioned earlier on that Neil was only the second boss you ever had. So what did you do before her? And who was the boss?
So I went to college for a year and I did IT because computers, home computers, and that was a relatively new thing back in the 80s. So my parents used to say to me, you ought to get into IT. That seems a good business to be in. So I went to college for a year doing programming.
Right.
Assembly, Prime, Basic C.
So you could be doing my job.
No. Because I basically dropped out. I did the year and it wasn't for me.
Okay.
But I stayed in IT, so I was looking for an IT job, and I joined a company at the age of 17, and it was an IT job to look after their computers.
Right.
But I very quickly realised they only had about 6 computers.
Okay.
And this was a full-time job.
Right.
And no way was 6 computers going to keep me busy for 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So, and it was a steel stock holding company. So I made it a point of interest for me to learn how the company ran. It was a family business. So I wasn't the part of the family, but I came in and helped this family company out. And I learned buying, selling steel, how the orders come in, and so I learnt the whole infrastructure of the business and sort of learnt how it ran. I never was going to go anywhere within the company because it was a family business, and the family were all getting promoted and so on, which makes sense. But I was there for 23 years.
Really?
It paid the bills. I managed to buy a property with Helen. So it was
when you joined us, then you were still working there, were you?
No. So so eventually the company went into liquidation.
Right.
So I would probably, I don't think I'd still be there today, but I would have just carried on working. It was, I was there 23 years. They went into liquidation, unfortunately, but I already had another business set up of my own, which was just selling collectibles on eBay. eBay was a new thing. I think I was the first year of eBay. I forgot what year it was now, but I was an eBay seller straight away.
Right.
And I was helping my dad out who had a business. So I said, Dad, you could expand your business and use the internet. He wasn't interested. So I set up an internet version of my dad's business, which is buying and selling trading cards and cigarette cards,
still going.
which is still going. So I had that business running in the background already, which was an extra bit of money when I was working for the steel stock holding company. It was an extra bit of money, which was helping me have nice holidays and things. So I had that on the go, and I decided to do that full time and give it a go. With the forced change of job, I thought, you know what, I'm in a really fortunate position here where I've got something of my own to do. You can't be earning money for yourself rather than anybody else.
Your own boss. So
exactly.
You had another boss. Your own boss.
So I did that for 3 years, and it was going fine. And then then Oliver called me and said, what do you think? So I was like, well, I only have to hand in the notice to myself.
You're quite a fortunate position when that
absolutely.
happened.
It was perfect timing. So I know some people you should take these opportunities. And luckily I did. I don't know. I can't imagine anybody turning down the opportunity I was given. But I was also in a very fortunate position where I didn't have to any quandaries of this great job that I had that I would have to hand my notice in and jump ship and leave. Luckily, I was working for myself.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you were obviously model maker and droid builder, and at some point there was a possibility of you moving to more of an office type role, and that was partly, I think, due to your role on bringing together Celebration UK or Celebration Europe.
Correct.
Yeah. So maybe you could explain your role in that a little bit.
Yeah. So it was
obviously Celebration moves around, doesn't it? So like goes from USA to Japan. It's Japan this year.
Correct.
And what year was it? Was it not last year? The year before?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So 2023 it was, which was in the UK. That's right. So I've always gone to the Star Wars celebrations. The first Europe one, which was 2009, I think, 2008. I met Oliver for the first time. That's the first time I ever met Oliver as a Star Wars fan. I went along and took my son. But so then I've started to have, since I've been working for Neil, we've had we've been fortunate enough to be attending these events, rolling out BB-8 and R2 and so on. We've done, like you say, I think we've done them all now. And Neil had this idea to have some creatures presents for one of the showcases at Celebration in 2023, and I offered to help out. And before I knew it, he handed the job over to me and said, run with it, you do it, you set it all up. So, and it was when Neil had the idea, I genuinely thought it was a great idea. So I was maybe a bit more excited than a lot of other people were maybe. And it was to get some of the visitors, some of the fans involved on stage with us in a creature costume. So, it became a big showcase we had a number of droids and creatures. Even some flew over that were in storage in LA. We had this wish list, most of which we had on stage. I don't know how many we got up to, about 40 creatures, I think it was.
It was a lot.
All on mannequins. We had a static display with a few creature performers in costume as well, mixed amongst them, and they obviously stepped off the moving stage. It was a big show, and it went so smoothly, it went so well. And I will say as well, everybody did it for free.
Yes.
Which was insane. I asked around the creatures department who wanted to get involved. Your good self, of course, and so many people, pretty much everybody that was free that weekend got involved for free, setting it all up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it just went really well. So I think that sort of put a spark in Neil. Neil's very good at recognising people's, he's very good at allocating jobs for people. And I think that put me on the radar for a bit more organisation role. And,
it was really well done, and I told you actually after.
Thank you. Absolutely. I got so many compliments from people, which is very sweet. And to me, it wasn't to try and get more work and do something different. It was just to prove that I was capable of doing that, which went well. Yeah, it was great, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And I was planning that. We were actually filming Andor season 2.
That's right.
In Valencia.
Yeah.
And I was shooting on set.
I was in Madeira.
Prepping droids. You were in Madeira. That's
you were
right.
In Valencia.
Yeah, I was in Valencia, and I was shooting all day, and sometimes we were doing night shoots, and I was going back to my hotel room and planning for Celebration as well, and trying to get all that infrastructure together from Spain at times, you
Yeah.
know, for 3 or 4 weeks, however long.
So actually, you were doing Andor 2 in Valencia, but I was on Acolyte in Madeira.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
crossed over, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, and sometimes I used to go on set and like, which one are we making
Yeah,
today?
really confusing.
It
Really
was very
confusing. Switching back and forwards all the time.
Yeah,
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so Celebration was a big success, and that kind of was the idea of you doing maybe a different role, but you're now back in models and droids.
I'd happily be considered for that again.
Yeah,
but, you know,
but
this isn't.
yeah, I was going to say, but you like the whole model droid thing
I
anyway.
love
I'm not
it.
going to say you don't anyway.
Well, no, but if
your,
honestly, Matt, if
you were doing that before as a hobby though, weren't you? So
yeah. And honestly, if I didn't enjoy it, I really don't think I'd do it anymore because I have so much fun doing it. Why should I carry on when it's not very good?
Yeah.
You know, when I'm not enjoying it anymore. I've been in such a fortunate position that I enjoy what I do. Why change that?
Yeah. I've quite often never really felt like I've done a proper day's work because I've enjoyed it. Most of what I've done I've enjoyed. There's been some bad times. Do you feel though, the one thing I would say is what was a hobby for me, mostly a hobby, became a job, and then you don't have the hobby, or do you still feel like you would still do it in your spare time, like the droid building and what have you?
Yeah, the last 2 or 3 years, it's not so much of a hobby.
Right.
I used to come home from Pinewood and go straight down my workshop and carry on droid building my own stuff. Yeah, I've run out of space a little bit as well now, so I can't build as much at home. Yeah. But yeah, it's more of a job than a hobby now, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I still enjoy RC stuff.
Yes.
You know, with micro cars and boats and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I still dabble.
As I say, what is the hobby now?
What is the hobby?
Yeah.
Well, I'm big on my football, of course. You know, that's a family thing.
Yeah.
But the me time thing is remote control cars and boats at the moment. But I enjoy building them more than actually driving them. I think now, really, I enjoy the building side.
I think that changes with age. I think that when I was a kid, I just wanted to drive stuff flat out, and then when you get older, it's more about the finesse or the build or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd concur with that. I'd agree.
And you probably got more skills now to do that, because when I was younger, for sure. I'd paint things really badly, you know, whatever I was doing.
Yeah, but, for sure. God, if I look back at, you know, I'm more than happy with R2, and I don't think we would have done anything different with R2. But looking back at some of my other builds, if I was to go and do them now, I'd hopefully do a better job than I did at the time. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We'll go back and start again. So one of the interesting things we got involved with was the red carpet BB-8, which was originally something myself and Josh Lee built the first red carpet BB-8, which we rolled out at Anaheim. We only had one at that time. And it was terrifying.
Scary
but
time.
It became so popular that the Disney power that be wanted more of them because we had to be in multiple locations simultaneously. So we built 4 of the original ones, the Mark ones as we called them, and we had to split. We had to train a new team up. So it was myself and Josh, and it was yourself and a guy called Adam Wright.
Yep.
And Adam Wright, Josh and I had worked with for a long time, and he's a super quirky character. I love him to bits. You'd never met him, obviously, never worked with him, but he's a perfect sort of person to fit in. He'll you know, he can fix pretty much anything. He'll have a go at anything. Yep. Nothing scares him. You know, like he's a whirlwind of energy. You know, like he's just full tilt. So I'm just curious, like you went off and did that with Adam. Have you got any kind of stories from your travels with Adam? Because you went all around the world, like as Josh and I went around the world. And I've got one particular story that I'll bring up in a minute, which you might remember.
So many stories. So Adam, like you say, I didn't know Adam. So when you kind of auditioned us as well, didn't you? Really, you put us together in a room. I remember, and
in Pinewood.
I literally had to drive BB-8, and
we put you in the haunted room in Pinewood with the fountain in.
That's right.
It's apparently haunted.
And didn't we set up the stage like the Graham Norton show, didn't we? We put like the couches and a table just to see if BB-8 had to do the Graham Norton show, you know, or whatever.
Yep.
And but I'm so grateful for your judgment on Adam, because Adam was brilliant. You know, he was really good, but equally very professional, and he was my wingman. You know, he was great. We had each other's backs.
Yes.
Japan was interesting.
Yeah.
And Japan, it was the first time we'd been there, and Japan as a culture is very interesting, and it's probably my favourite country. I just love it, even though it's so different. I just feel at home when I go there. but some of their ways is quite quirky.
Yeah.
We did a live breakfast show, and we rehearsed just before we went live, and it was the one and only time that BB-8's head came off.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was always that was always in the back of your mind whenever you're driving BB-8.
I'll tell you my time in a minute once you finish this.
It was more important than hitting marks to me or anything else.
Yeah,
As long as the head stays on,
yes,
you've done half a job already.
Just so everyone knows, the head was held on with magnets.
Yeah. Exactly. So any slight knock.
Yeah.
And I got my forward and reverse mixed up because there was a switch, wasn't there? You could reverse the controls.
Yeah.
And I'd reversed the controls, didn't realise. And he went off in the wrong direction, bumped into part of the set, head came off. And the reaction from the studio, like I say, luckily it was rehearsals, was as though someone had just died. And I was like, oh my God, that's the effect it's going to have if that happens live.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's the one and only time I did it. I chose to do it in rehearsals. Yeah. And then after that, when we shot it and we went back and it was all fine, you've got a translator in your ear as well because it's being a Japanese show.
Yeah.
There's a slight delay because I had a translator in my ear telling me what's going on, so I knew what response to give from BB-8.
Yeah.
So that was quite tricky. Apparently there was something like 30 million viewers on this breakfast show, not because of BB-8, but it's just the population of Japan love this breakfast TV show apparently. Oh, no. So I was like, thanks for telling me after and not before, because that head may have come off more than the one rehearsal time.
Yeah.
There was one other story, which is when we did a faux red carpet event. So we were in Japan long before Force Awakens came out, so they couldn't actually show the film. Yep. But they still had all the cast there. They had a red carpet event. They had lots of fans there. They had a live orchestra, and we came out of this rising stage, and we rehearsed it during the daytime, and it was all fine. And we were told, where the cast would be. They weren't around at the time, but we had stand-ins. And BB-8 was in the middle of the stage, and he came up in the middle of the cast, and then came forward. And it was about 7 foot off the ground as well, with no barriers or anything. Yeah. So I had to be quite careful. And when we went there to do the live event, it was dark, so the lighting was completely different. It was all off a monitor, so all I could see was BB-8's eye, the LED eye. That's all I could read. And Adam was under the stage loading BB-8 in. I was in my position on the stage on the monitor, and we always used to check. I used to do some head movement just to check because we had comms as well, so we could talk to each other. Adam's in my ear, and he's like, "Okay, Lee, if you can check him." So I went to check him. Nothing happened. It was dead. By which time the live orchestra had struck up, so the music was playing. They were loading in the stage, ready to go. So I had to run down under the stage to see Adam, who was in sheer panic.
Was he?
He took the panel off. I said, "We've just got to look inside and see what's going on."
Did you have the spare standing by?
Power. We didn't have the spare standing. Not close enough to load in. Because, like I say, the orchestra were already playing. And we took the side panel off. There was no power. And what had happened is the Mark 1 BB-8 obviously had the rotate on it, didn't it? And I'd mistakenly rotated it as a test, and it had pulled the battery connection out.
Caught on something.
So luckily it was the classic air gap, but not that we'd forgotten to connect the battery. It had pulled out. By the way, JJ standing over Adam and myself, peering in, asking if everything's okay.
Really?
And luckily, we connected it up, panel on. I just turned to JJ and everything's fine. Up I went, and off we went. But there was a rotate move that I had to do up on the stage to get BB-8 going left and right of the stage. But I bottled it. I did the steep turn. Yeah. I did that instead. I wasn't going to rotate it again, just in case that battery came out.
Brilliant.
So that gives me goosebumps every time I tell that story, because it was
sheer terror. About it.
Sheer terror. But there you go. It's
we had a couple of those moments.
Yeah, you have to ride those moments and just keep a level head. Yeah. What's yours?
Well, there was two things. One was the head off. It happened to us in a children's hospital. And we did a BB-8 appearance just for the kids. And I don't know what happened. I can't believe we had one of our handlers with us, fortunately. Josh and I were sat up in an auditorium, and I hit the button that flips his direction, and his head spun round and just fell on the floor, and our Disney handler, fortunately, she just looked at us and picked the head up and plonked it back on.
Wow.
But there's 3 ways the
I'd
head
say
can go on.
I
Yeah,
got lucky.
Yeah, and got lucky.
Yeah?
She had it
Wow,
the right
okay.
way. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
So that was lucky.
Okay.
So no, my story about you and Adam was it's more about me and Josh, to be honest. But so basically, because we split up and you went one way and we went another way and we went all around the world, and then we were filming episode 8, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
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 Is that the Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
I can't remember what their names are.
Yeah.
And we had to do some actual work with BB-8. We had to be on set filming.
Yeah.
And we were on set filming, and you guys went off to LA to do a job with Red Carpet BB-8, which we didn't know what it was. And I don't think you did before you left, or if you did, you certainly didn't tell us. And then I remember being on set, and then you sent me a message or sent a picture or something, and you were at JPL. And Josh is a massive NASA fan, and I'm a bit of a NASA fan, big nerds, and you guys got to go to JPL, and we were like, what?
Yeah.
Why weren't we asked? And it's because they wanted us on the first unit because we were filming with not JJ, we were with Ryan. And we got the real humble. It's the first time I've seen Josh get quite upset about something. He's like, I can't believe they're at JPL. And then weirdly, the next day we were filming, we moved location, we were on another set. Or 2 days later or something like that. And I don't know how or why, but Kathleen Kennedy walked past and said, "Oh, you guys, you were at JPL the other day. That looked really good fun." Well, I was like, "No, we weren't there." That's the point. Because she was like, "You must have just flown back." I was like, "No, it's Lee and Adam were out there."
God.
And we were gutted, absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
You got since then, I have been around JPL because
we made sure we got you an invite.
Exactly.
We made sure you
So
got an invite. Because I knew how gutted you were.
Yeah, we went back out there and without BB-8 and got to have a look around, so it was all fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, oh man, why did we train another team up?
Should have been selfish.
We should have done it all.
Take it all yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't. We were very fortunate. We were kept very busy, and I know you had some great events as we did.
Yeah, we did some fantastic.
What an amazing time, and each trip you do, you think this is the last one. You don't expect it. It's better not to.
Yeah.
But it just keeps...
It took us all around the world, didn't it? It's bonkers.
Yeah, it is.
It was a crazy time. I don't think it's something that will never be repeated. I don't think. It was an incredible thing. And it's something that I think I said to you before, like it's one of those points in life where you think I should probably retire now because I don't think it would be as good as this, And it's...
you're right.
So far I'll be right, but...
special time.
time. Okay, so... just out of curiosity, favourite location and why? Since you've been working in the film industry,
Greenham Common.
Really, Greenham Common of all the places.
Yeah, because it was such an iconic location anyway.
You remember it from the news in your childhood.
Yeah, from the news in childhood, and it always had this intrigue because I was very young. When were they?
Yes,
when were they
the 80s,
protests? 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So there was this intrigue because I was only 10.
Yeah.
So it had this mystery about it, and you just assumed that there was these weapons of mass destruction, as they called now. But they were,
So just so our viewers know, Greenham Common is a US military base in the UK where they stored all of the Trident nuclear missiles, and they were on vehicles in bunkers ready to roll out at any time. And the whole news thing was that it was surrounded by a chain of women, wasn't it? They all linked up, and they camped there for like years and years until it was decommissioned. Yeah. I think even after it was decommissioned, people were still there for a bit. Yeah. But it was a huge thing in the UK that should we be having nuclear weapons stored there and blah, blah, blah.
So it felt, not just the job that I was doing, but it felt a huge privilege to be in somewhere like that, and what a cool set it was as well.
Cool.
It was a cool set.
The bunkers were cool,
Exactly. The thickness of those doors.
I know, ridiculous.
And, and we could just walk in those bunkers that we knew what used to be in there.
Yeah.
And then, with the Millennium Falcon scaffold version at one end. And,
it looked good as well, didn't it?
It did.
It looked really good. You could look down that kind of, not runway, is it? Because it was vehicles, but you look down that concrete path and there was just cardboard cutouts of X-Wings, but it looked like a full airbase.
That was my first experience of a location as well.
Okay, well that's always going to stand out.
Exactly. Yeah. So
nice.
So a lot of my most memorable moments are my firsts, if you like.
Okay. Favourite creature / droid? that you've worked on so far?
Okay, that I've worked on. It's got to be R2D2. You know,
Okay,
I try and
yeah.
be clever and think of something else,
No,
but
don't. You
it
could
got
be
it got
R2D2.
it got.
If you want to be vanilla, that's fine.
It got me the it got me the job. It got me the
Okay.
job. You know, and you know, I feel I'm only I see myself as a custodian because I'm not the creator of R2D2 or anything like that. And,
Yes.
and other people will operate R2D2 in the future, hopefully, if it comes back. You know, I'd like to do it, but maybe other people will. But my favourite droid to operate is B2.
B2 Emo, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah,
Beautiful.
It's so easy compared to everything else because
Yeah.
you can go in any direction at any moment, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything as long as it's a relatively flat surface.
Well, I was about to say all
we took
terrain.
it through the mud,
Probably,
but
it probably goes on the roughest terrain
It
compared
does
to
out-
your
it does out
other
of-
hero
yeah,
droids.
it does, I
you know,
suppose. It does. Yeah, you're right.
Dio,
Yeah.
BB-8, R2 don't like rough terrain
Yeah.
as much as B2.
No, you're absolutely right.
You've got the extension. You've got good head movement.
Yeah.
The drivability. It's a great fun droid to drive.
It's probably the same thing for you, but out of any other film or sci-fi franchise or anything, you know, like what creature or droid? It's probably R2 again, isn't it?
Johnny 5.
Oh, Johnny 5. Okay, yeah.
Johnny 5.
That was cool.
Because that's a
I thought-
fun film.
Yeah.
It's a really good fun film.
Yeah. Just a
And-
short circuit, the film.
Yeah, that's right. And it's
Yeah.
Johnny 5. And I know someone that's built one, and I've seen the one
I've
he's
seen
built.
it. Is this Dave Rex? Was it? What's his
David,
name?
yeah, Dave.
Dave Rex. I'm going to get
oh,
it wrong
sorry,
now.
Dave.
Anyway, I'll put it up somewhere.
In Wales.
Yes.
And it's amazing, but the
Yeah.
build is so complex, and
Yeah.
I just think I don't want to take anything like that on now.
But it was also in the film. It was so alive. Johnny Five's
Exactly.
alive. It was so
That's
well
right.
performed, and the
Yeah,
character and stuff
exactly.
did a lot.
Yeah.
And I just believed everything I saw. I thought everything that's happening for real. Even though
Yeah.
we know now they do specials for shots where
That's
there's a
right.
close up.
Yeah, but you thought it was just one robot
Yeah, one
doing
robot
all
doing
of
everything.
all the
Yeah,
gags.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. Favorite movie character, and well, say favorite movie character first. What would be your favorite movie character?
How do you mean, like a fictional character?
Yeah, a fictional character. So, for example, I don't want to tell you mine. Well, you might.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay,
yours.
no.
I don't think yours would be the same as mine.
So I'm gonna stick with Star Wars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you might do.
Because the toys as well were I had
Yeah.
all the Star Wars figures and stuff.
Yeah.
Hammerhead.
Hammerhead.
Yeah,
Really?
Hammerhead in the cantina.
Really?
Because as a 7-year-old kid,
Yeah.
you just thought, you know, it was. I never thought it was people in costumes.
No.
I don't know what I thought really, but I do remember thinking, how the hell is this head up there with his eyes on? How
Okay.
is that? Where did they get this
Yeah.
thing from? How does that
Interesting.
happen? So yeah, Hammerhead.
Well, so that leads me to my next question. Which character would you most like to play in any film? Hammerhead?
Not Hammerhead.
No.
Not Hammerhead.
So if you could be like, for I don't. Like,
Okay.
For example, for me,
I've got something.
right, go on. Go.
So what I would love to do, and I have tried multiple times,
Yeah.
to the extent of me being in costume,
Yes.
waiting to be called in front of camera.
Right.
I would like to be anything droid related in Star Wars.
Okay.
So if I had, I know you've been fortunate enough to be in Star Wars in the bunker
Yeah.
for Rise of Skywalker, was it?
Rise of Skywalker.
Or Last Jedi? It was Last Jedi.
No, the Rises. Which one is the middle one? Eight,
The
number
yeah,
8.
So Last Jedi.
Okay, so we got that wrong
so
earlier
you're
on
in
then. So we were talking about episode 8 and we called it the Rise of Skywalker. It was the Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Okay.
Last
Right.
Jedi. I was in the crate in the
so
bunker.
You in the
Yes.
crate.
Yeah.
So it sounds ungrateful, but if
Yeah.
I was offered that, I would have really had a serious think about it.
Right.
Because I would rather save my one opportunity, maybe,
Yeah.
to do a droid-related thing.
Droid related, so not
So-
necessarily as a droid, but
No.
as a,
Yeah, to be
just
with
a
R2 or something.
servicing something.
So-
But you did. Hang on a minute.
So-
you were.
Yeah, but people don't know that yet.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe this can come out
There
after
you go.
or two. I don't know.
I
But no,
haven't
so
given anything away,
JJ was going to get me in Rise of Skywalker
Was
when
he?
we shot at Black Park.
Okay.
And we were going to load an R2. We had a rig set up to drop R2 into the back of an X-Wing.
Right.
Because he goes off with Poe towards the end when he goes into battle.
Yeah.
And they had the lifting rig. We cut a hole in the dome ready for what we tried lifting the two-legged R2. It all worked fine.
Yeah.
I was in costume for a week on Black Park waiting to shoot it.
Yeah.
We didn't even shoot it. It didn't even happen.
Okay.
So
I think
yeah.
Okay, so I think that's great, and I'm sure your dream will come true.
yes, maybe.
But what I was actually getting towards was more like an existing character. So, for example, for me, I would love to have played Indiana Jones. Do you know
Oh,
what
I
mean?
see.
So that would be
Okay.
like my hero character,
Okay.
or
Right.
the Man with No Name from
Okay.
the Sergio Leone trilogy. So
So, probably.
who's your hero? You know, your hero
Probably
character.
Luke Skywalker.
Luke,
Yeah.
not Han.
Not Han.
Interesting.
No, probably Luke Skywalker.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so like a desert island film, so your favourite film, but you're gonna take it to a desert island. You're gonna watch it over and over again.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, it's going to either ruin this film for you for the rest of your
Yeah.
life, and if it's something that's, I don't know, I thought about this a lot. I don't even know that I have one, but I'm just curious to know if anyone goes, oh yeah, that's straight away, that's this. I could watch this all day long every day. You know?
You see, I think Back to the Future.
Yeah,
The first
good
one.
film.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
good
I
film.
can whenever it's on. It's one of those films where if it's on TV, I'll
Yeah.
sit and watch it
Yeah.
and enjoy it. So it's the first
Yes.
time I watched it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
excellent.
and I managed to get away from Star Wars and not be corny and say
No,
New Hope
no,
or something.
it's
But
fair
no,
enough. Yeah, it's
honestly,
good. It's good.
yeah,
Back to the Future's a great film.
Yeah.
Great series,
Yeah.
great trilogy.
Yeah.
So I asked you to bring along with you an inspirational object. And
I
I
have.
see something on the table.
Yeah.
So could you
Let me lean
could you-
across.
Yes,
Bear
bring
with
that
me.
in and
I'll just take these off.
yeah.
Sorry.
In fact, I'm going to get something whilst you get that. So yes, your inspirational object you brought
Yeah,
with you
so-
is a radio controlled car.
Yeah, so you gave me the heads up before
Yeah.
we came down here to visit you in Devon, and I went to some extra effort with this. Actually, this is my first ever remote control car, my decent remote control car,
Yeah.
which is a Tamiya Thunder Dragon.
Okay. I didn't recognise
And
it.
yeah, so it's a space themed
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Having done some research recently on this,
Yeah.
and it's a bit ratty now, and I've decided I'm going to refurbish it. I've ordered some parts actually to refurbish it while I was down here. So it's 4-wheel drive,
Yeah.
and it's actually still got the old speed controller in there. The old,
Really?
the old sweepy arm, the analog
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
thing.
Really horrible speed
Yeah,
controls.
really awful. They used to get gunked up,
Yeah, covered in
and cut
rubber.
out
Yeah,
while you're
yeah.
driving them and so on.
But is it? It's not like the original one with the coil. The
No,
road went along.
no,
That was really
no.
hard. It's
No,
like
it's
the free
not.
speed one.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. So I'm going to sort of, you've given me a bit of inspiration,
Okay.
really, having thought about it.
Yeah.
And I always go back to this
Right.
as my thing because this actually, I didn't realise I was so old when I bought this. I say old. 18. This came out in 1988,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I bought it when it came out. It was,
Yeah.
it was like my first, when I had a bit of savings,
Yes.
and I think it was
They're
£100
expensive. Yeah, they're
at the time.
expensive.
And
Yeah.
so it was my first. I used to like Lego as a kid and
Yeah.
Airfix and so on.
Yeah.
I went through all the model making
Yeah.
stuff as a younger child, but actually to get some return on my build and play with it and get so much enjoyment out of it was this.
Yeah.
And at 18, I was still just about living with my parents, and I remember just driving it up and down the road just for hours and hours until I used to buy just more and more batteries,
Yeah.
so I didn't have to wait for the recharge time. And I really do think that this made a difference to my remote control ability and my interest in remote control things
Yeah.
because of this car. Really.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is quite dear to me.
But it's one of my inspirational things is
Yeah.
RC cars as well, because I got into them a bit earlier than you did. I saved my pennies for months and months. I had a penny jar,
Right.
and I got £40 together, and I bought a second-hand holiday buggy, which was one of the first Tamiya
Beautiful.
kits.
Yeah.
And it was in bits, but I put it back together. But I had one battery which was held together with sellotape. The case had gone. And that's the only battery I had. So
Wow.
it wasn't great. And I used to drive me mad that I used to charge it and get like 5 minutes play out of
Exactly.
it, and then charge
Yeah.
it for half an hour
So
and 5
annoying.
minutes of play.
So
I
annoying.
couldn't, because I wasn't working or anything then, I couldn't afford to buy another battery. So
Yeah.
all I had for years was that.
Wow.
So, but it definitely, though the Tamiya RC cars,
Yeah.
it was so different to everything you'd ever driven before, because they were fast.
Yeah.
They had suspension off road. You
Exactly.
had to build them. It was just there was
Exactly.
engineering
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
It was
And
really good.
And quite easy to obtain parts as well. So if
Yeah.
you did smash them, you could replace the parts.
Yeah.
Whereas an off-the-shelf, ready-made car,
Yes.
not so easy to repair.
No, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my thing.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. I don't think you brought one, but I also said if you've got a favourite tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, my lathe wouldn't fit in Tim's
Oh.
car.
So your lathe is a favourite.
The lathe in general.
Yeah, the lathe.
I bought a lathe and I've documented getting it down the end of my garden. It was
Yeah.
the absolute nightmare. And it arrived in my workshop about 5 years ago. I've not used it
Really?
because I've always
It's your
been,
favourite tool.
but I've always been at Pinewood and I've been able to use the
Right.
lathe at Pinewood.
Yeah.
But
Make someone else lathe dirty, and then someone else
exactly,
clears it up.
Exactly. But I get so much enjoyment out of, a lathe is so unique. You can't do what a lathe does with another tool.
Yes. Yeah.
So I get so much enjoyment out of doing it, and I just get lost in using a lathe, and
I get enjoyment out about watching people turning things on. Like it comes up in my Instagram and stuff like that. Watching something being turned beautifully.
Yeah. And also as a hand tool, I will add as well, which I didn't bring with you because it's probably at work. Actually, I couldn't find it. Is a vernier.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because that
can't do anything without it.
No, you can't. And I remember I had a metalwork teacher at my secondary school. And he taught us how to use a micrometer for measuring the thickness of steel. And I was like, and I pulled him up on it. I was like, why am I learning how to learn the thickness of steel? I'm never going to need that in my life. Cut to me working for Steel Stockholding Company for 23 years, measuring the thickness of steel on a daily basis. So don't always question what you're being taught. But no, the vernier now has become important because of what I'm making now in the industry has to be so accurate at times, especially when you're replicating stuff. The vernier comes in very useful.
Yeah, very good.
So,
over here, you did spot earlier on that there were some dice you asked me about. Well, if you'd like to take one of those dice, roll the dice.
Your casino dice?
Yes, my casino dice. From an actual casino in Las Vegas. 5.
Number 5.
I can't read my own writing. I've just written it and I can't read it. Right, I'm going to go into here. Hang on a minute. You've won a prize. It's not the prize. There are better ones, but you've got to do it fair. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. For your trip to Devon, you have won.
Oh wow!
What a
great idea!
A little fridge magnet. Yes.
Brilliant. Do you want to take the price off?
No.
Oh. 99 pence. Thanks.
Courtesy of a local store, which we won't mention.
Oh,
you've lost your rug again. How does he do that? It's slowly worked up the back of your thing. So yes, that's for you to take home.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Matt.
You're perfectly welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
They are all different, which is why there's the roll of the dice. I won't show the others because
Okay.
Earlier on today, obviously, being in Devon, we stopped and had a cream tea. Now, I could ask you the obvious question everyone talks about when there's cream teas involved, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say beans on cheese or cheese on beans. You know what I'm talking about?
Cheese on beans.
Jacket potato.
Yeah, cheese on beans.
Cheese on beans.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wrong answer. But that's Lee's answer.
No. Your beans fall into the jacket potato that you've cut open.
Yeah.
And then your cheese melts on top.
Yeah, I think you put your cheese on first, and then because then it starts to melt from the heat of the jacket potato, and then you put your beans on, and it double melts, and you get all the melty cheese underneath.
Yeah, but you get enough heat from the beans for the cheese to melt once you put the cheese on the beans.
Okay, so you'll go beans, cheese.
Hang on, this has become more interesting than what we've just been talking about for the last hour.
So it's beans on cheese. Beans on cheese will go.
Cheese on beans.
Cheese on beans.
Yep.
And butter.
Butter as well.
Butter.
Yeah. Butter, then beans, then cheese.
Then cheese, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, Lee.
Pleasure, Matt.
And
good luck with this. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Where can people find you on social media if you want people to find you?
Okay, so you can just look for my name on Instagram.
Yep. Lee Towersey.
Facebook as well.
Yep, Lee Towersey.
Yeah.
You're not under R2D2, or is that not your tagline?
Or R2D2, yeah. ARTOODETOO as well. You'll find me that way as well. They're usually both linked.
Yeah.
But yeah. And,
lovely.
So or just message me direct. So I'm always, I'm so grateful for what I'm doing. I try and help other people as well the best I can.
Yeah.
So if I can help anyone, and just with the build or whatever, just message me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lee.
Mate,
thanks for coming.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
If you've enjoyed this video podcast, then please do remember to like, share, subscribe, and of course leave your comments and feedback. I'll leave further information on this video's guest in the description section, along with links to their social media. Bye for now.